I've got a book offer. Now, what's Martha Panther?
Martha Panther's World is basically going to be the continuous of a 5-part series. Help inspire young children that have gone through the care system, struggles, mental health.
You seem like somebody who's become very, very confident. Book offer, speaking to head teachers, but you said life wasn't always like this.
So when I got pregnant with my daughter, I was 15 years old. A 15-year-old could really think that.
Some women might get harassed. Other people could say, well, look, she was asking.
We are sexualised, we're hyper-sexualised. Some women feed into that. My mum passed away and I never actually got to know my mum. As traumatic and as heartbreaking as they were, and something that I still struggle with, every day.
Welcome back to Take a Seat. This is the #1 podcast for mindset and motivation. I've got another treat for you today. I've got a book offer. Now, I want to know how to write a book, how to go about even publishing a book. So if you're interested in this topic, then this podcast is definitely for you. And I always get guests on who potentially doesn't have the best start in life. So what changes their mindset to become better? So before we get into this one, I've got a bone to pick with you. 89% of yous are not subscribed. We're getting the views, we're getting the watch time hours, but come on, help me so I can carry on sharing amazing guests like today. So without further ado, let's welcome Nadia Jocelyn.
Hi.
Did I pronounce your name correct?
It's Jocelyn.
Jocelyn.
But it's okay.
How are you today? You all right?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, we met on a podcast.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we was. How did you get onto that podcast, and who do you know?
Well, big up China first of all.
Yes.
I know China. We've worked together. He's come on one of my live event shows. And we met online. Actually, we met in the comment section. And then before you know it, I invited him down. He came on the live show. And then from then, it's just, that's how I know him. So, yeah.
How important is it to network?
Especially in what we do, podcasting, and me being a radio host and even being an author, networking is extremely important. I feel like it's the kind of like the foundation of building a strong, I don't want to say fan base, but I guess so in a way. You want that audience. You want to build a strong audience so that every time you release a project, that you have people for it to go to direct it to. So as far as networking as well, it's kind of like being able to, me being here today, we networked through China's new podcast. So that was really dope. And it just brings more opportunities. So I think having people skills, it's definitely something that's needed, what we do. And, it can only really benefit you.
What if you're in the wrong places? So like, if you're in a council estate and, you haven't got the right people around you, or perhaps you could be in the right area, but it's too busy and no one wants to stop and talk to you or give you that time. Yeah. Where do you go? How do you network?
Yeah, that's interesting. I believe no matter where you are in life, where you're based in life, you can always find a way. It's just a matter of you seeking out the people that you need around you to help facilitate whatever dream or idea you have. So really, it's about taking time, having patience, and being very objective with your goals and knowing that, okay, if this is a target that I want to reach, how do I go about accomplishing that? And then who do I need around me? So research is really important also. But just go out there, talk to people. People aren't as scary as they seem.
Does it matter the way you walk, talk, and look?
I believe so. I do. And I always say to my children as well, because my youngest will always be like, oh, Mum, you can't, who cares what I'm wearing? And it's not about what you're wearing. And I always say that to them. It's not about what exactly you're wearing. It's how you wear it and also how you're trying to represent yourself. So, of course, how you walk and talk, if I'm sitting here all slouched and, frumpy and feeling inside frumpy and projecting that on the outside, then unfortunately I might not get the reception that I'd like to get from people. So understanding that a lot of communication is nonverbal. So when it comes to your mannerism, body language, how you articulate yourself, and being polite and courteous, I think, are just some skills that some people don't unfortunately learn. But when you do grasp them, you realise how important they are. So for sure, I do believe. I think for me, especially with what I do with podcasting, with me being glam Nadz as far as my podcasting, I kind of that's my realm. I love fashion, so it's quite easy for me to adapt in that way.
What if I haven't got a lot of money?
Yeah, you don't need a lot of money. You don't. It's an eye. Like, I think like some people have it and some people don't. I generally do believe that, because you can have all the money in the world, right? You can afford Louis, Gucci, have the fastest car, biggest house. But you put all that together and you can still go outside looking like trash. Like, not literally, sorry guys. Not literally trash, but like you might not know how to coordinate. Not everybody does, And I think genuinely, at the same time, fashion is objective, style is objective to the individual. So of course, it's really just down to your personal taste. And if you love it and you're confident wearing it, people are going to love it anyway.
So where do you get your inspiration from?
What, as far as my style?
Your style, the way you're looking, walking, talking, the sort of reception that you're getting, that if I put this on, I'll get that kind of reception. I'm feeling warm, friendly, approachable, so where does that come from?
Where does it come from? That's such a good question. Have I really thought about it like that? Where does it come from? I think when I was younger, I always looked for, this is how I want to look when I'm in my 50s. I don't know why. 50s was always the kind of like number in my head when I was younger. And I always thought, when I'm in my 50s, I want to look like those boss ladies. Like, you can wear a suit, whether it's a trouser, skirt, suit, with the blazer, like just looking proper, pretty much how you're dressed, very smart.
I'm not a 50.
Yeah. But a female version, and so I kind of always had that in my head. So as I've gotten older and become more aware of, my femininity and exploring that as a woman, and knowing that, there's a way that I can still express my femininity without perhaps being judged for it or being on the side of too sexual, because obviously that can happen. There's a thin line, and I believe that obviously we've been in the entertainment business, we do know that sex sells. And it's just a fact, whether we like it or not, sex sells. There's a market for it. Men love it, women love it. Everybody loves being physically looking and thinking, you're physically appealing, whether that's your attire, whether that's your hairstyle, whatever that is. So I think for me, I've always thought, I've just enjoyed arts anyway. I went to college, I studied, I did fashion and textiles at college. So fashion has always been something that I've always related to. So as far as me, just how I dress and how I feel people approach me, I just radiate how I feel inside, and I just express that. I try not to overthink it. And sometimes, my skirt might be a little bit too short. But, there's a time and place for everywhere. And like, everywhere there's a time and place for what you wear and how you act and how you behave. So with that being said, I believe people approach me in a loving way, in a fun way, because I am loving and fun.
Do you feel that, so there's this thing where men can go, I wouldn't go to the extreme of some of the extreme, but I'm just saying, for example, some women might get harassed, and other people can say, well, look, she was asking for it.
Oh, goodness me.
She wasn't even wearing a skirt, it was a belt. Do you know what I'm saying? And come on, what do you expect? Like, the other, gender is definitely gonna, or same gender even, it's gonna look at that and go, right, it's going crazy in their mind, and they want to harass, talk, and going, look, she's basically ready for it.
That's crazy. That's really crazy. And I think these are conversations that we will always have for as long as there's power imbalance within and among the sexes, different, male and female. I feel like that's always going to be a thing, because unfortunately, when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to, well, pretty much most things in life, but in particular entertainment, I'll speak about, women are objectified, like in the sense of we are sexualized, we're hypersexualized. And I think some women feed into that and they find some form of power through being looked at as sexual beings. Some women don't like it. Some women makes them feel uncomfortable. It's really just down to the individual. However, when I think about men that say things like that, I think it says more about them than it does about the female. That if she wants to come outside and dress how she wants to dress, that's completely up to her. The reception she gets, she may not like it, but then that's down to her on how do I now reevaluate, look at how I'm dressing, how do I want to be approached, and move accordingly. When it comes to the men, you're in control of your own minds, your bodies. Like, what do you mean? Judging somebody in the way that they look, I think it's extremely unfair. You should judge them on their character. So, okay, she or he, because there's men out here that just quite skimpy as well. We're in 2024 and, men want what women have. Some men, let me say, want what women have and, some don't. However, what I will say is that we shouldn't, we shouldn't feed into that narrative of this is what she asked for because of this is the way she's dressed. At the end of the day, we all know that no means no. So if a woman approaches you and she says no, you walk away. That's where accountability has to come from the outside, from the person that's approaching, rather than it looking and thinking, well, she was dressed a certain way, so she wanted me to come to her. But if her words and her actions said no, then that's it.
So let me play a little bit of devil's advocate here as well.
Go for it.
You've got a young daughter.
I do have 2 young daughters and a son. Yeah.
Imagine, I don't know how old they are, but like, just imagine your daughter's 16 and she wants to go out the door and you're saying, whoa, you've got a little bit too many legs out and too much flesh showing, what are you saying from that aspect? Are you saying, yeah, you go, girl, you go and show them and you go and do your thing and don't let any guy come near you and touch you? Or are you thinking, hey, hang on.
I've got an 18-year-old and I've got she's turning 18 in June. Okay, so not quite there yet, but she might as well be at this point. And I've got a 12-year-old who's turning 13, 2 girls, right? And I have a little bit been in that situation, not necessarily legs out, but more chest area. And I just dealt with it in a calm way. Like, I think sometimes children, they feed off of your emotions. And if you're the type of person that's so like, oh, no, oh my God, and panicky and constantly worrying, your child is going to pick up off that. They're either going to extremely rebel against your concerns and your worry, or they're going to become over conscious themselves and worry about things they may not need to worry about. I think when it comes to your child's individual style, you also have to allow them to express themselves and learn themselves the same way you did, the same way I did. I had to learn myself. I had to figure out what worked for my figure and what didn't. And sometimes I would have adults around me that say, well, Nadz, that doesn't look good on you. Or, oh, that looks great. And then you work it out. So, I mean, in that situation with my daughter, I kind of was just kind of like, well, you know what, darling? I really like the black top that you had on the other day, or the one you just bought off River Island. Why don't you try that one on? And then, you find your way around it, rather than if I'd have gone, that's disgusting. What are you doing? You look like a slut. That, first of all, it's shaming her. It's going to bring down her confidence. Her anxiety levels are going to go up. She's going to feel insecure. All of these things that we don't really realize that for young women, like those, like especially within that age of, a young teenager, words and things that I said to you make such a big impact in the person that you end up becoming. So.
Do you feel that times have changed since we were growing up? I mean, I grew up in the 90s, and the best times, do you know what I'm saying? When you're going,
so did I.
Going down to the park with my best mate, kicking some ball, making sure you're home by 6:30 for dinner, make sure you're helping with the dishes, like, I don't want to hear nothing back. You better wash them, and rinse it and dry it, and you done your homework, boom, you got to listen to it. TV's off, bang, you only had one TV, them times, like it was like who's watching what, who's got what at what time. Ended up watching the soaps with my parents,
Yeah.
My mum will always be like, it was Brookside to Emmerdale to Corrie to EastEnders, you know what I mean?
Mate,
It would always be that whole thing, and you're just going, when's it my turn? And, or if you was like playing on your SNES, innit, Super Nintendo, and they're like,
yeah. Oh, yes, Nintendo
I was
days.
just about to clock the level, bro. You know what I mean? Them ones, yeah. But and we happily got a backhand, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Boom. Or get to the shop, help your dad, or this, or go to the shop and go and do the shopping. Like, we had to just do it, and there was nothing called mental health. Now it's everything's sensitive. It's like, oh, you can't talk about me like that. That's body shaming. It's like, what? Like, how? What was that a word? Like, you know what I mean? Normally it's like, oh, it don't look good.
I don't want to laugh.
No,
honestly, yeah.
Shit, I'm actually feeling like an uncle right now.
When you say that,
I'm seeing some 16-year-old going, what do they know? They're from a different generation, you know? That's what I'm feeling right now, yeah. But like, the world has come a very, far way over that, in the short space period.
Yeah.
And I feel like, who's putting these thoughts and beliefs? Because as soon as somebody puts that thought or belief into your head, it's a new belief system that it's like a different chessboard they're playing on, and they will never feed off the one that you are. And I'm not sure if the UK is going the correct way in the Western world.
I think that's so interesting because you just hit it. It's a Western thing. It's the Western culture. Because when you go around the world and you look at all the different cultures and varieties of living that we see, and as far as the way children behave around their adults, their elders, and the way the elders treat their youngers, it is different around the world. And I think sometimes we have to put that into perspective. And I think that's one reason why, for me, I really tell my kids, like, explore the world, get out there, like get to know different cultures, understand how other people really live, because, you can get stuck in this bubble of Emmerdale, EastEnders, Corrie, Hollyoaks, right? And before you know it, your life mimics what you see on television.
I'm in the Queen Vic.
It's you're not having a pint.
Yeah.
It's programming.
Talking to Peggy over the counter.
Stop. It's actually real life programming, and we don't realize that because subconsciously we take in so much information around us that we don't realize. We go to sleep and our body translates all of that. It creates the aura around you. It attracts all the things that you think about when you sleep, even when you're awake. What you think, what you feel, what you say, how you treat people around you ultimately vibrates back to you. So for me, it's always important to let my children understand that how we treat each other in our household isn't necessarily how others treat each other in their own spaces. And when you're outside of the home, you represent our family. You represent yourself first and foremost. So have some respect for yourself, because I always kind of like, not had a fear, but like I always used to think in my head, like, and it would just give me a little like jolt. And I think I never want my kids to be them kids in the back of the buses, making up pure noise, effing and swearing and throwing things and whatever. And then you've got the elders there just looking, thinking, who raised you? I always used to think, oh my God, thank goodness my children aren't like that. But then, you're right. It's different times they're in. I remember when I was younger, I was a menace. I won't lie to you. I grew up in foster care, and I don't like to equate my behavior to foster care. However, it has an impact because the foundation of my home setting, it wasn't the nuclear mum, dad, siblings, it was you lived here, and this is, you may call them auntie and uncle, but that's your foster mum and that's your foster dad. This is not your family. You're fostered into it. You've got to now find a way to fit in and find your place within that unit. So when I was younger, my behavior was all over the place. So when I think about, but then at the same time, there was always instilled in me, like, don't talk back to your elders. Just basic. I feel like it's basic, like you said, like, we'll like get a backhand or whatever, like it's like you just know, like certain things, certain conversations when adults are talking, don't get involved. Why are you chatting? Like, be quiet.
So these days kids are very smart the way they talk, and they go, how did I do that? What did I say there? How was that rude? Like, where is that like point? You can't really explain yourself, but they're wrong and they're misbehaving and they're being really cheeky the way they're talking.
Yeah.
Back in the days, you just get booked.
Yeah,
Like
and you
Mike
can't
Tyson
now.
say, everyone's got something to say until they get punched in the face.
Oh,
Do you know
really?
what I'm
I
saying?
didn't know he said that. Okay, I guess so.
Yeah. Like, no, what he says is that everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Like, that's what he said, yeah. And it was more like...
Yes, for the impression.
Yeah. But one of my favorite guys out there, like, he's just a realist,
He's
raw. But it's just like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna say that, and then when you get punched, you're like, shit, what do I do? That's life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like children these days are really sort of cheeky as well, and it's just like, hey, you can see somebody in front of you, been a very successful businessman, 7 businesses, properties all over the show, rentals, starting up other multiple businesses, and then you've got that attitude towards me, like, all right, we're working on little projects together here and there. But if you walked into a restaurant and there's a guy with £10 million property portfolio there, would you really disrespect and talk to him like that? And you don't want to be that guy to say, "Oi, look at me, look how much money I have. Look at..." It's not that. It's the fact that, hey, look, have some respect. I've done a lot to get myself to this position. Giving you opportunity here. Where do you find that balance? How do you get across?
Honestly, I believe this generation are naturally ungrateful. And I think they need to get taught that humility, get taught that not everybody wakes up and they have a television in their house. Not everybody, gets up and can put a decent pair of clothes on and get a meal. Like, because what you don't appreciate necessarily something that you just have there. Just, it's just there. They don't have to worry about certain things. And I think for me, like, when I look at my dynamics with my children, I have to keep reminding myself, like, they didn't grow up how I did. And I cannot expect them to relate to how I look at things. Like, I can't expect them to always relate to it, but I expect them to respect it. There's a difference, right? They may not understand it, but within respecting how I raise them and the ethics and the ethics that I want them to uphold, in time they will get to understand it, because it's through experience. It's through, like you said, going out there, talking ish to the wrong person and getting smacked up. And then you'll be like, oh, I won't do that again. So I think, this generation, honestly, it's obviously social media plays a huge part. We can't really have these conversations without bringing up social media, can we?
Yeah.
And especially when you mentioned about this era being so generation, should I say, this generation being so overly sensitive. I mean, goodness me, like, it's not that serious. Like, we have real serious things happening around the world. We've got famine, we've got wars, we've got, ex-traffickers. We've got all these things happening around the world. And you guys want to worry about what? We're getting stressed about someone's tweet? Like, let's put things into perspective.
I've been to India and I've seen a little 3-year-old cooking. 3-year-old on the floor cooking. She knows what to do.
Yeah.
And their little brother, because mom and dad's at work.
Yeah.
And it just leads you to believe how powerful and intelligent we are as human beings. But in certain parts of the world, we're being dumbed the hell down that even a 13-year-old couldn't do that in this country. I mean, I know I couldn't do a lot. I learned business at a very young age, which is why my results was really fast. And my parents were from a different, my mum was born here, dad came in when he was 10, but my granddad was from a different infrastructure that wasn't in the same belief system or schooling system here, that passed that down, that you go to work, it doesn't matter. What do you mean the school said you're not allowed to do this? Bun that school. You know what I mean? We don't need
bun
to.
that.
Yeah, forget that. Forget that.
For sure.
You're gonna do what we say because we know you can do it. My dad was like, I worked in the markets when I was 12 years old, and I bought a cup of tea for 2p just to keep my hands warm.
Yeah.
My granddad said I started working at 3 because I started selling candy floss. So all that belief system was downloaded and said, you can achieve, you can do. Well, don't tell me I can't. Don't tell me there's an age
banned
limit.
from my house. That word, that sentence itself. What do you mean I can't? That's not allowed in my household. I will try. Or I'm struggling. I need help. Not I can't. That is defeatist mentality, and I cannot tolerate it. I won't tolerate it for myself, and I won't for people around me, not just my children, just people around me. I want everyone to feel like whatever they put their mind to, they can achieve. And it's so interesting that you mentioned about being in India and seeing a 3-year-old, because, you know, I'm from Ivory Coast and I've visited, and you see the independence.
Tell me what you see.
You know, and
What are you seeing? What are the kids doing there?
they're living real life. And I think
what's that? What's real life?
And I say with real life, I mean they are like the responsibility of real life. And I'm not saying that is something that is a good thing. However, it instills certain characteristics in a person when you've been through a certain type of, I wouldn't say struggle, because for us it may seem like a struggle, but for them, is that a struggle? It's just real life. It's their life, right? And there's levels to it. Obviously, being in poverty and being, you know, really out here, you know, I saw the children begging, going to the cars, begging for money and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a different, you know, that's unfortunately they're victims to their circumstances. You know, that comes under the politics, under the you know, the country's governing, all sorts of things go into that, right? However, when it comes to the home, and what the parents allow the children to do at a young age. Listen, what was I watching the other day? I was on TikTok and I saw in China, they have a school. Don't quote me, guys. I'm pretty sure it was China. They have a school where it's a nursery, actually. So it's called a kindergarten, which I believe is our version of nursery.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the kids literally, they would cook their own lunch. The older ones would cook the lunch. The younger ones would like knead the dough and do, you know, the kind of easier things.
Wow.
They would take it in turns to wash up after. Then their actual like skills, their actual lessons were learning skills. Sewing meant the girls and boys could do it. It wasn't like a sexist situation. You know, the sewing, the bricklaying, you know, different like skills.
It's weird. The reward system in our infrastructure, like if you go on our algorithms, they will applaud you for being silly, for being stupid, for doing a stupid fart or doing something ridiculous stupidity, and that's what sells. And it's the most outrageous, and you get rewarded by more views and likes. So what are you naturally going to do? We've got this, you know, dopamine hit of I'm going to do it again. I want to go viral. I might become famous for doing this. Whereas in, you know, the Eastern world, you get rewarded for like solving mathematical equations, you know, for doing something more articulate or something that's more, you know, it's going to help your future, etc. Well. And they're getting rewarded for that, and they go more viral for that.
Yeah.
And just that little observation shows me that what the hell is going on here?
Do you think it's purposely done?
I'm not really sure if it's purposely done. I think we're in totally different infrastructures where, you know, everything is like, we are the creators of nothing in this in UK. We are not creating anything. We're importing, we're brokering everything, if that makes sense. So there is no
But who creates the infrastructure though?
Who creates the infrastructure? Suppose we lean on governments, but there's probably someone who's controlling government, someone's in charge, you know, and the answer to that question is I don't really know. But you can obviously, your gut, your intuition tells you there's something clearly not right here. I recently went to Dubai, and Dubai is such a growth mindset, you know. You've got your labourer workers, people who come from third world countries, not on amazing money, but they get accommodation. They're working hard out there. And then you just got to look around you to say, crane, skyscraper, business. If you want it, you can have it. And I don't really see any knifing, any stabbings. You know, you probably...
There's loads of countries like Norway, Denmark, like so many countries. Even just somewhere as like Amsterdam, like, and that's just around the corner, you know. I believe that it's orchestrated to an extent. Do I know who's orchestrating it? No. Do I really want to know? Probably not, because I love my life. I don't want to put myself or my children in danger. Because at the end of the day, we're in a time where when you speak the truth and you speak things that for you may be common sense, but to people that are just doing as they're told and live their life to fit the narrative, to never be outside the box. They want to be in the box. You want to be safe. Don't want to be judged. Don't want to be looked at. Don't want to be called crazy. When you step outside of that box and you can fully take in your environment, fully look and think, well, how does this piece match with that piece? And how do we get here? Like you said, your gut tells you something doesn't make sense. Some people are willing to go out and find out how and why does that not make sense. Some people are content with just knowing it doesn't make sense, but I'm going to mind my business and do what I'm doing. And that's also okay. But what I will say is that I believe there is a reason why we have the benefit system. And I'm not here to look down upon anyone that's on benefits. I'm a part-time working parent, so of course I receive benefits too. So this is not to look down. This is simply just to say the system needs people to go through it, or this is not going to be a system. It works because the machine works because it rotates people in that. It's like the health system, the NHS, pharmaceutical companies need people to be sick to sell their product. And then they need to also obviously get people in hospitals. Like it's just it's a merry-go-round. So why I say that when I think of something like TikTok and knowing that certain countries, especially the country where it was created, ban certain algorithms being, and images being shown in their country, but will allow it in the Western world. Well, why is that?
Who knows? Hey, who knows? I mean, certain times I go into this thinking mode, but certain times it's like, hey, look, I can only control what I can control. Go about my business, making sure me, my family, my next generations are doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
But then I also have this fear that who my children are going to meet, and then I'm not saying it's getting diluted, but do you know what I mean? Like there's only a certain amount of people that they're going to be able to meet with the same belief systems.
That's true.
And if everybody else is in the system, then eventually they're going to be like, oh, well, I've got to do what she says or he says now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, because I feel like for every Matrix, there's always a Keanu Reeves. Like, there's always that. I forgot the what was his character's name? Keanu Reeves in Matrix. I forget. I'm so terrible.
Someone's
Morpheus.
shouting. Someone's shouting at the screen. It's him.
I know, right? No, who was Morpheus? No, Morpheus was the bold guy. Yeah. Oh, goodness me, that's going to stress me out.
Just say Keanu. Come on.
Keanu, yeah, they know what I'm talking about. For every Matrix, there's a Keanu Reeves, right? And for every one of him, he'll open up someone else's eyes and that person will open up someone else's and whatever. It's just a continuous. So as far as culture-wise and what we teach our children within the home, naturally, they will pass that down to their children. They may not go outside and meet children exactly like them or adults when they become adults like them. However, if we just know for ourselves that this is a generational thing that we have the responsibility of passing down, then naturally there will be a community, and you know what? I see it in real life anyway. Because before, when I was less conscious about politics and the government system and just the way that the schooling system operates and all of these things, before I was kind of awakened to the truth of the matter. Life was more simpler. Yeah, life was, was just whatever.
Nadz, we're going to end up going round and round with this topic. Like, because I don't think this podcast is long enough for this topic.
It's really not.
You know what I'm saying? We need a couple of people here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And proper, break this thing down. But I think this is a deep, deep topic.
It is deep. It is deep. It is a very deep one. But just, just to kind of cut it short, it's just that the onus is on us as parents just to pass down what we want to pass to our children,
100, absolutely. I agree. What I really want to deep dive, and I suppose the audience at home is probably thinking, what's Martha, Panther and Carlos, Chameleon?
Yeah.
Like, is it Martha and Panther's World?
Yeah, so this book is called Martha Panther and Carlos Chameleon, The Hamster Overload. So Martha Panther's World is basically going to be the continuous of a 5-part series. So her world will introduce everything about Martha Panther and her foster siblings and what they enjoy doing, and help inspire young children that have gone through the care system, or even those that are not in the care system that have just come from a, less privileged background, or just struggles, mental health,
Is this meant to go
things like
into
that.
schools?
It's basically, yeah, I do go to schools and do book reads. Yeah, I go to schools. I also go to nurseries because the artwork is very colourful.
I really do like. Where's this
Yeah.
artwork come from?
Yeah. So
It's very
um,
children booky.
it is. It most definitely is. So shout out to Clau. She's the illustrator. And I found her through the illustration company that also helped me publish edit the text. Sorry, I self-published it, but they helped me with the editing and the finalization of it all and bringing it all together. Um, yeah, Devilla Illustration Company. So shout out to Roger. Because they were really, really supportive throughout the journey. And I think for me, I really wanted a book that was best of both worlds when it came to children's books. I wanted young children to look and think, oh my God, Mum, daffodils. Oh, what's the giraffe doing? Oh my God, I love that. Or, the colours to just really stick out. But then I also wanted the text to relate to reading age and above. So 6, 5, up, above.
How
So
do you know the
yeah.
language that a 5-year-old or 6-year-old is speaking when you're
Yeah.
writing?
Yeah. I have children. I have 3 children and they're all different age groups. So I used my children as like,
Guinea pigs.
yeah, in a sense. But they were part of the process. My
Wow.
daughter, Aaliyah, she helped with kind of creating the concept, really. I was actually, the book, the idea of the book actually came about when I was doing like a bedtime story for her. We was actually going through hard times ourselves. The electric had cut out. There was no electric in the house.
Wow.
And we was waiting for someone to sort it out for us. So in the meantime, while we was waiting, I was like, well, let me try and keep her busy. Like, what can I, so I ended up telling them a story, just making up the story on top of my head. And it was just, about a panther in foster care. And as I'm telling the story and they're asking me questions, I went to bed that night. Obviously, yeah, we did get the electric, it got all sorted. But I went to bed that night and I was like, I could make this into a book. Like, why not? At the time I was heavily into gardening because I love gardening. I use it as a form of therapy. At the time, also when I, got onto the author journey, my mum passed away. And I never actually got to know my mum. I was born in Ivory Coast, but when I moved here, she stayed there. And unfortunately, we tried to connect. Never got to meet her, but she then passed away. At the time, I was trying to become an author, and then shortly after that, when I got into podcasting, my cousin unfortunately passed away. This was during COVID times. And then it's crazy because at the top, last year, say April times, my younger sister passed away. So I've had all of these things happen in my life that, as as traumatic and as heartbreaking as they were, and something that I still struggle with, every day grieving. You never quite understand how to grieve until you're in it and you're in the process and you're figuring it out because you go through so many emotions of it. And I used, I focused so much on being an author to help me get through that. And I use gardening as a tool of therapy to get me through those times. So and I think also just doing podcasting and being out and about and keeping myself busy, it keeps me sane. So I say that to say this. When it came to creating the book, I really wanted my kids to be involved because I wanted them to see that, mum's gone through all this stuff, but she still achieved this. She still has something that in 100 years when I pass or whatever, you know, they can pass that down to their children and say, oh, look what your great, great, great grandmother did, or just to leave a footprint on this planet with my art, with my words. So children's book, yeah, amazing. I love it. And because in the day I use children to help me make it. So it just
Mhm.
made it easier. Renee, my eldest, she done the original sketches for the illustrator to use. And then Taylor Dane is just, my little bundle of joy. And I just read it to him and he asked me questions and stuff like that. So it just helped me create the book. But one thing I will say as a first time publishing author, research is so important. And don't necessarily, just because you're in the moment of, oh, I want to be creative, I want to get this done, I want to get that done, don't necessarily always go for the first thing you see. Don't always go for the first company you come across, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And I love the company I use. I won't take it back at all. But what I will say, had I taken a little bit more time with it and done a little bit more research, perhaps I would have created the book a little bit cheaper because it was very expensive.
How much does it take to get this
in
book?
total, for that book alone, and mainly because of the artwork, it was about £3,000.
Wow.
And from a young mother who, you know, at the time I was in and out of work, so I'm on benefits, trying to figure it out.
3,000.
It's a
and
lot
what
of money.
percentage is the illustration on that?
The illustration is probably about 70% of that. Probably more, to be fair, because it was a page of probably 150 per you know, and then it breaks it down. So you pay per character first, then you pay per page, per scene, you know? So, and then any edits and things like that. So it stacked up, darling. It
And
really
where do you
did.
get the editors from? Who edits your work?
So I found the company. I was just literally looking up online. I found the company. They were originally called the Oxford Illustration Company, but they've downsized. I think it was since COVID and everything, they downsized. So it's De Villiers Illustration Company now. And so, I just found them online, gave them a call, had a great conversation with the manager, with the owner. And he understood what I was trying to create. He was, I think, connected with the journey of the characters and also with my own personal journey, and it being so intertwined in that way, with foster care being the main reason why I did it. So
were they UK based or in America?
Oh no, UK based.
Okay.
They're UK based. However, Clow, she's not. Clow is from. I don't want to get it wrong, but she's definitely not from London. She's not from here. She's overseas, I believe. Oh, it's not Germany. It's one of. Oh, she's sorry, Clow. I can't remember, but I think she's because even with like do you know what, the art, as far as the artwork, I've even got a theme song, because the whole idea of Martha Panther's world is that it encompasses everything about Martha. So whether that's merchandise, which I'm working on, that's one side of it. There's the gardening club, which is the therapeutic side of it. And there's also what I'd love to, which I'm bringing into fruition, is a cartoon series. So I actually have a theme song made up, and the guy who done the theme song is from Brazil. So I've always kind of worked, you know, you find people along the way, and he was actually recommended. Brilliant guy, by the way. I can't remember his name, bless him. But shout out to him.
So, like, look, I'm thinking of writing a book.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've written a couple of chapters now. What do I do next? Like, this is just playing, like, you know, somebody out there who wants to do this. What do I do next? Like, where do I look? Where do I go? Who do I speak to? Are there apps? Are there platforms? Like, what goes on now?
Yeah, there definitely are. There's so many forums. Definitely, you have, you know, like you said, you've got it mapped down, you've got it on paper. Then the next step is just to be active in it. And so when I say those groups, Facebook is a huge platform, a very, very good platform to use for a beginner in anything. There's so many groups. Like when I first published a book, I mean, I got majority of my sales through Facebook groups, literally just going on there, posting it up and saying, guys, I'm a new author, putting down a little summary of it. And they, you know, you find the author pages, you find the groups. So, and this kind of brings us back to the beginning of this podcast, because, you know, you find the people that you need to bring into your atmosphere, into your aura, into your space, to help you figure out how to get into your dream and how to make it happen. So definitely Facebook, all social media platforms. There's definitely groups that you can learn. Okay, how do I publish? How do I find a good editing company? Okay, I want to do the artwork myself. I don't want to go and pay an illustrator. How do I go about that? You know, there's so many. And then Google's your best friend, mate. Google everything, YouTube everything as well. So I'd say research for sure, and just put yourself out there.
And how do you know if that person's good? So you're trying to get somebody on board and they're trying to edit, and then you're like, yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'm getting in a good budget. They're going to give me it
Yeah.
in 3 or 5 days. And then
Yeah.
they're a
And
little
then,
bit later. And
yeah.
then, you read it and you're like, hey, there's still mistakes here and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, how'd you get over that bit?
Yeah, it happens, right? These things happen. That's just trial and error. You can't, and this is the thing, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to get something wrong. Like, that's how you learn. And it's actually okay. And I think that's one thing that I believe I've installed in my children as much as I can, to my ability, is don't be afraid to fail. Like, it means that you tried. It means you actually went to go and do something. And then okay, it didn't work out this time. Let me try another company. Let me try a different way. Okay, this is above my budget. All right, let's scale it back a bit. Don't be afraid to say to somebody, you know what, I don't really like that. Because it's your artistry, it's your work at the end of the day. When you go to an illustrator and you say, this is my vision, please can you draw this out for me? Well, you're the customer. You have to be happy with it. And it's something that you have to be able to live with as well. It's like going and getting a tattoo. It's going to be on you for the rest of your life. You want to know that when you're going to the tattooist, first of all, that, they're good at what they do. And second of all, that you resonate and appreciate and like the work that they do.
Mm.
So, you will, I might have been sent a sketch one time and I'm like, don't really, can we tweak it here? Can we tweak it there? And this is where it is important to build a rapport, or to really, especially when you're, and I think that's what it helped me having my daughter sketch it first, before I gave it to the illustrator, because even after that, I literally sat down with each character. I bullet pointed every aspect of the characteristics so that the illustrator, she has a full spectrum of what this character could look like. She can then envision it herself. Yeah, she has a basic sketch there, but with all the context that I put and writ on the side, it's like, oh, okay, well, we can put the nose like this, we can put the ears like that, we can, she'll send it to me. Oh, can we tweak this? All right, cool, no problem. So communication and just, know that it's a team. There's no I in team. And I believe every great person in life, anyone that's achieved anything in life that has helped the community or helped their family or generations to come, never did it alone. So building that team around you where you feel comfortable to say when you're not comfortable with something and when you are extremely pleased about something on both sides of the spectrum is extremely important.
Nice. And how
Mm.
do you normally communicate across? Because,
Yeah.
sometimes you can't just meet people face to face, like
Mm.
some of the people you don't even know where they're from. So are you doing
Yeah.
this through Zoom to
Yeah.
communicate, screen sharing or what?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, she's from Canada.
Oh.
I just remembered Klaus from
How'd
Canada.
you get from Germany to
Yeah,
Canada?
I don't even know. Why did I say Germany? Sorry. When you're trying to think on the spot, like things get a bit much sometimes. Yeah, Klaus, yeah. So a lot of the times, time zone is obviously different. Canada time or whatever's. So Zoom calls were put in. Emails a lot, but I had to keep obviously making sure I don't miss an email. So Zoom calls were pretty
Mhm.
much the easiest, because then we can just sit down for a good solid 30, 40 minutes, go through all our points, and then after that would be emails back and forth.
How do you promote this book? How do people
Yeah.
know about this book?
Yeah, how do
How do
people know?
people get hold of it, for the
Yeah.
children?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So it's available on Amazon UK and Amazon USA. Kindle version is available, as well as paperback. And you can also head over to my website, Martha Panther's World. Um, I have a website where you can actually print out, at the back of this book, there is a crossword puzzle. You can print it out, and you can also print out, I think we've got 3 out of the 5 characters that you can print out, and the children can do arts and craft with them. So that's really, really dope. I love that. So if you head over to Martha Panther's World on Instagram, it has all the links there. So it could take you straight to Amazon, or, you can go
Mhm.
over to the website.
But generally, how do you promote this?
How do I promote it? Through word of mouth. Obviously having children that go to schools, I always kind of get in there nicely with the head teachers or with
Yeah.
their teacher, and I'm an author.
Mhm.
Can I come and do a read? My son had his Christmas fair, like, obviously last year, beginning of the year. So, I done book signing for them, and gave all the book sales to the school. So it's, I think also the first year, And obviously I'm 4 years, coming up to 4 years, published author. But the first year I was published, it wasn't about making profit. It was about getting the word out there. Hey, I'm a new author. Hey, there's a new book. Hey guys, come and look, come and see. So anywhere I could go, especially like I said, Facebook was my best friend at that time because I can interact with so many different networks, so many mums and dads and play groups and so many things I could interact with. So it was really, I promoted it the most on social media. And then after that, it's word of mouth and just talking to people and letting people know, look, I'm an author now, and not being, because I was a bit shy about it at first. I won't lie to you. It wasn't something that I was like shouting to all my friends and family about. I probably spoke more about it on social media than I did in real life until I found a balance and was confident to say, yeah, I'm an author. You guys need to respect it. Buy the book, tell your friends. I know so many people that have children, that it was, by the time I did build up my confidence, it just made sense to be like, look, come and get a copy here. I'll give you this, and you just find ways. So I gave a lot for free for the first, I think, about a year and a half. Just literally donating them. I tried my best because really ultimately I'd love to have the books in children's homes. I'd love it to be in every foster home around London and at some point globally, and I've tried to get through with Bromley Social Services. There's a little bit of politics because I published a book, self-published it, and I didn't publish it with them. So there's a few things that I wasn't fully aware of. So in that as well, I could have done a bit more research, and probably could have found a way through that. But, you don't give up. There's other councils, there's other boroughs, there's other, services, social services that, I would love to collaborate with and bring out the book with, yeah.
Nice. Well, talking about confidence, like I don't think you're anything shy of confidence because like you're a podcast host and you're also, on live shows, you're hosting them as well. Talk to us more about that.
Yeah, dope. And it's interesting that you say that, but I think my friends always say I am actually really shy. And then my friends would be like, no, you're not. You're selectively shy. But no, do you know what it is? I believe just because of my personality, I'm a Gemini. I like to really scope the room, get to know personalities a bit, figure out, okay, what makes them tick, what doesn't. What's their energy saying? I love to read a room first, but as far as with myself and my confidence, it took time because, I've been through a lot in my life, and trusting people wasn't something that I did naturally, just because I couldn't really, and then also because, going through the care system, you get to love a family, you get to know people, you get to build friends, and then you get moved, so then that detaches you again, and then you go through the loss, and then you grieve that relationship, that friendship, and you have to move on to another and create that again. So for me, in a way, as much as I can say it made me more cautious about my surroundings, at the same time, it made me adaptable, so where I can perceive as confident is because I can adapt quite well to pretty much most environments. And so as far as DJing, like getting into I wouldn't say that, okay, so I'm working towards becoming a DJ. I'm a radio personality. Yeah. So with me doing interviews now, which is really, really dope. So having artists come in, so first of all, my show's called Your Time with Nadz. It's at Just Call Radio. You can find them online, justcallradio.net. And it's an online radio show. So shout out Anton, Too Bad DJ, okay? He's the owner. And getting into that, I feel like it was a natural transition coming from doing podcasting into radio. I just think kind of naturally it kind of was because with the podcasting, you have to be comfortable with putting yourself out there, and not everybody's going to love it. Not everyone's going to agree with what I say, and they don't have to. That's actually okay. But what you learn is that the importance of discourse, the importance of conversation, and bringing up some uncomfortable truths or some not so uncomfortable truths, just having those conversations and bringing them up naturally, yeah. Like, I think over time, my confidence did build, like, with podcasting, because I don't necessarily filter myself as much as I did at the beginning stages.
Mhm.
At the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't want people to hate me. I don't want the backlash. I don't want people to think I'm this way, I'm that way. And then now I'm just kind of like, well, people kind of know who, like, what they're going to get with Nadz now,
Mhm.
you know?
So how do you get onto the radio? How do you get
Yeah.
entwined with Anton and
Yeah.
have this opportunity?
Yeah, I seeked it. I found it, you know. I say that, do you know what? It's a bit of both. Let me not, toot my horn too much. It was a bit of both, because I have so many DJ friends around me. Obviously, just being in the industry, you meet a lot of people. So through networking, right? And a friend of mine one day, he just sees a DJ, yeah, and DJ Twicey, shout out to yourself. He was like, Nadz, have you thought about doing radio? I was like, well, I do podcasting. He's like, yeah, but radio, innit? Like, I know a guy. You should come and, like, you should try it. Reach out to him. And then I kind of thought on it. I didn't straight away jump on it. I was like, oh, I found him on Instagram and I was like, okay, checked out the page. And I thought one day, I was like, you know what? Why not? Why
Mhm.
not? Like, I just enjoy being creative. And I think
Mhm.
when you're creative, you don't want to box yourself in,
Mhm.
because I think, and I'm sure yourself being an entrepreneur, you know that the best way to get there is to have your hands in many pots.
Mhm.
You know, you're not always just going to get the rich. I mean, some people, they're fortunate enough, get rich off of one thing, right? But if you've got your hands in pies, then you know that you've got different streams of revenue,
Mhm.
right? So ultimately, just being a creative person, and in knowing that at some point I do want to become financially free and flexible, and give my children that future that I wasn't able to have for myself as a child.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, I literally just messaged Anton. He was like, well, come down to the studio. It all happened so very quickly. Like, I couldn't even
Mhm.
blink. Like, it just all happened so quickly. He was like, come down, we'll have a chat. I came down, we had a chat. Then we booked in. I thought I was coming in for a promo day. Like, no lie. Like, Anton, I still to this day, I'm like, Anton, I can't believe you threw me in like that. I thought I was coming for a promo day. I thought I was coming just to take some pictures and stuff. And I came to the studio, and then he was just like, go on, get on. And this, obviously, it's live, yeah. So we go live, guys, on TikTok. Please follow me on TikTok, Glam Nadz 1, I believe. Yeah, it is. Glam Nadz 1. On TikTok, I go live on TikTok, go live from Just Call Radio's TikTok, and it's live. So this is different from we're in a studio, it's pre-recorded, right? And that's what I was used to up until that point. So when he's like, jump on, Nads, I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm not a DJ. Second of all, what do you mean live? So when I
Mhm.
make mistakes, people are gonna see my mistakes.
Mhm.
What is going on? So I felt so vulnerable in that moment. But guess what? In me being vulnerable in that moment and saying, I'm not going to let fear hold me back, and push through that, because fear is an illusion that's placed there to limit you. And I truly believe that when you push past each fear at a time, greatness is right behind it.
Mhm.
So I did that. And then now, it'll be a year in September that I'm a radio
Wow.
host.
Congratulations. And you
Thank you.
also host some shows in
Yeah,
person, you said?
live shows. Yeah, so I did. There's things coming up. So there's a lot of things coming up. But at the time, my podcast, Noise and Banter, we was putting on live shows. So it was in collaboration with Podex Party, which is a different brand. My co-host's brand, yeah. So we kind of combined the brands together and we did the live shows. So that's how we
Mhm.
met China. I invited him down. So yeah, that was a great experience. And even prior to holding those kind of events, I've got experience in putting together my own charity event. So even for the Book Martha Panthers world, I put together a family fun day in Bromley, South London, guys. And that was really, really dope, because I knew nothing at the time about putting events together. I knew nothing about putting a charity event together, let alone, because I was actually raising money to finish off the book. And I managed to get about 6 different Black-owned vendors within Bromley, and to come down. So it was cakes, food. I brought all my plants that I grew from the allotment down. We had arts and crafts. I had volunteers. And when I sat back and I looked, I thought, I did that. Like, it was literally me and my sister, my younger sister. She helped with like kind of coordinating the day and writing things down and whatever. But as far as me calling up people saying, you know what, I'm having this event, come down, went down to the, to the hall, spoke to the people. They gave me a discount for charity, even though, bless them, probably shouldn't say that actually. I will not register the charity, but they saw the vision and was like, nah, we'll give you a little discount, which is very sweet of them. So not having an experience and then putting myself in it was another fear that I kind of tackled. It was another hurdle that was like, well, you think you can't do it? Well, you can, So that was another moment. But I think, yeah, so that kind of like was like naturally, I know that I can get people together. I can be the middleman that will get this vendor, this customer, this audience together in one place.
Wow.
And from when I understood I had that skill, I was like, yeah, live shows, nothing. Can definitely do that. So yeah, I'm excited as well. I've got an open mic night coming up that I'll be hosting. It's called Life, and that's this Friday. All the information's on my social media. So that's really dope. That's my first independent hosting. So that's going to be really dope. But yeah.
What does it take to be a host? How do you remember everything to say or what to lead it, etc., that you don't make a mistake there?
Oh wow. What's it like to be a host? Oh, I think what it takes to be a host, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, we're only human. Like, we're literally only human. And everyone else that's watching you makes mistakes. So when it comes to facing the audience, don't be afraid to just laugh at yourself a little bit. Like, and I think that's what kind of helps me, because I can laugh at myself. So if I do something a little bit silly or say something a little bit silly, all right, but it's relatable. And people like that. People feed into people that are relatable. And and the other side of being a host is understanding that all the work that goes behind it is more crucial. Like the steps towards that night, everything that goes into organizing and orchestrating that night. If you've got all that patterned and you're organized, simple. If you're organized in the background, it makes being at the front so much easier. But yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy engaging with people. So yeah, I think just putting yourself out there once again. And so yeah.
You seem like somebody who's become very, very confident and, putting yourself out there on radio, podcast, hosting, book author, speaking to, head teachers. But you said life wasn't always like this. And something you told me, off camera was you became a very young mum.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can you,
Yeah.
and so you was in the care system. Who was there to give you guidance?
Oh, I met some amazing people on my journey in foster care. So I always say that my experience is not someone else's experience. It's unique to me, right? So we can be, for example, we could both be in foster care. We could meet the same people, but yet, do they have the same impact that they have on me, on you, right? So I've met so many amazing people in foster care, the same way I've met some not so amazing people in foster care that are in it for the wrong reasons, doing it for the wrong reasons. And
What does that mean? Doing it for the wrong reasons?
For the check, for the money, for the house, for the extra things that you get, for the holidays and the extra budget, the extra room. Like, there's so many there. If you're a foster carer that has their heart in the right place and you genuinely want to bring in a young person and show them what real love is like, show them what the unity of a family is really like, then amazing. You deserve all of that stuff. You deserve to get a bigger house. You deserve to get the budget for a holiday. You deserve to, all of these things that come with being a foster carer. However, when you're not doing it for the right reasons, you're doing it simply for the money, the impact that has on the child is more detrimental than it is you being a scammer, and scamming the system. It's more that outweighs any form of check that you think you're getting, because that damage is is lifelong. That they'll live with that, knowing that I can't trust certain people because you made me lose trust in people. However, on the flip side, I had an amazing key worker, Torre, my auntie Torre, that, we're still very much in contact now. And I'll never forget the teachings and the way that she had time for me and the way that she made herself relatable. And so it didn't feel like, it felt like it's an aunt. That's my auntie. Do you know what I mean? Didn't feel like this was a person that gets paid to be around me. She cared, she loves, she put herself out there. And, amazing people. The owner of the children's home, Pearl, an amazing woman, her family put together a beautiful home for ethnic minorities. Mind you, it was in Essex, so the particular part of Essex was predominantly white, so it was nice to have that, yeah. And so many, Auntie Phyllis. So I could go on, right? So amazing people that are there doing it because they want to see young children have a better start. And they also, and I feel like naturally, when you're a giving person, you get rewarded anyway. You do. Like, you feel good. Like, you get the same adrenaline rush that some people might get for going and stealing. You get that for helping somebody and knowing that you've made a positive impact on somebody's life. So unfortunately, I didn't have the best start. I went into foster care at 6 years old. Went back to my family's for about a year and then went back into the system. Things didn't improve. And from there, I was in the care system up until leaving care at 18. And even then, which I believe was a lot more different than before I was in the system, they actually stay with you until you're about 25 if you stay in education, which I did. I went to college, I went to university. So they stayed with me up until 25 to a capacity, not hands-on, but they're there in the background. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, I was 15 years old.
Wow.
That was when I was in a children's home in Essex. I fell pregnant. I find it sometimes a little bit tricky to discuss it, only because I never want to seem like I'm glorifying being a teen parent, because it's not something that you would wish upon your children or yourself. You wouldn't really wish it upon yourself, because it's like that. When I look back at the child I was and how I looked at life, everything, I made it so much simple. Like, I made it so much easier than what it really is in real life. I think most children do that anyway. But obviously being a child in care and not having that structure, not having that discipline that I really needed. And I was just going through a tumultuous time, and I was just rebelling. I was rebellious. I was going against, what, you telling me I should go to school? Oh, nah, I don't feel like going to school today. I'm going to go and see my boyfriend and just chill out and do nothing all day. So I had a loser mentality. I didn't see myself winning. So I thought, I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to love this baby so much. This baby's going to love me so much. I'm going to dress her up. She's going to be she going to be so cute. And, we're just going to be a happy family forever, ever, 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 ever. Crazy. So crazy to think that a 14-year-old really, from 14, I say 14, I was in a relationship, but a 15-year-old could really think that they knew how to be a parent. That I thought I knew that what would solve my problems in life is having a baby. Then when I had that baby, well, so one thing it did do is the shock of understanding the type of responsibility I had coming towards me made me back up my ideas, made me look and think, oh, okay, no more dossing about. I've got to figure this out. The children's home couldn't keep me anymore because they didn't want me to be a bad influence on the young children. Fair enough. At the time, it was heartbreaking because it was being pulled away from another environment that I felt safe. And moved back to South London.
Did you have to go to like a mother and baby unit, or?
I didn't. I was quite fortunate. I actually ended up just going into a foster home with a family.
Why is that fortunate?
It was a single. I would say because, oh gosh, I don't want to be judgmental, but when I have visited, because I have visited children, mother and baby units, I personally wouldn't want to raise my children, or my child at the time, in one, because it's chaotic. And not because of the staffing, not because of you know, the people, the stuff, like, not because of the, I can't find the word, excuse me. It's because of the types of people that are in there. Sorry. Yeah, let me put it that way. Because they're all broken kids how I was broken, but yet I still had enough scruples in me to be like, well, I don't really want to be doing certain things around my kid. I don't really want my child, So, I don't know how to describe it, but I think when you know the type of environment you want to raise your children and what standard you're used to, and I think that's what it is as well, actually, 100%. I was used to a certain standard in the children's home, like love, like I've always been in lovely homes. So I've never not been in surroundings that you would be like, oh, okay, that's nice. Do you know what I mean? And so when I looked at some of the way that the girls behaved and the way they would let their kids run around and do whatever, I was like, oh, sorry,
Mhm.
I'm all right, But like I said, I was lucky enough that I didn't really have that option. They didn't give me that option. I was in a foster home. So when since I found out I was pregnant, okay, they moved me back down to South London. They asked me, what do you want to do? Do you want to carry on with education? I was like, yeah, well, I have to do something. I'm pregnant. Can't go running around the streets no more. So I've got to figure it out.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I did my last GCSE paper in hospital after giving birth to her. And that was a personal achievement because prior to that, I was barely at school. I wasn't like mainstream schooling. I was not attending. So the unit, for me to know that I completed something that I started during such a emotional, crazy, life-changing period of time was an extreme self-accomplishment. Yeah, for sure. And then after that, I just kind of didn't stop. Fashion and textiles, Lewisham College, Croydon College, performing arts, and then media and communications at university. Yeah.
What kept you sort of going, like in terms of you've had a very hard life? A lot of people who just have a mom and dad, nice, happy family, it's
Mm,
like, a good base. And when you don't even have that at the
mm,
start of your, younger years, etc., you just look at everybody else. I wouldn't say jealous or envious, but it's like, hey, why was my start
mm,
different? And then
mm.
you've got a young child. You can end up feeling a little bit sorry for yourself that, oh, if only I knew, how to change nappies and feed, and I have to wake up in the night.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
all of this on top of everything else. Now I've sort of, in a way, lost my freedom. Like, I can't just get up and go whenever I want around my friend's house because I've got a baby with me, or I can't go to the clubs like everybody else who's going to look after my child. Like, there's a lot of stuff stopping you. What kept you going through this period and go,
Yeah.
I can still do this. This is not going to be
Yeah.
forever. There's
Yeah.
going to be nurseries. There's going to be babysitters. There's going
Mm.
to be, I can still have a life
Yeah.
and, be so much more like
Yeah.
today, an
Yeah.
author, a host,
Mm.
a radio DJ sort of thing. Like, what
Yeah.
was that transition to say? What kept you going to say, do not stop,
Wow.
at all, Nads? We can do this.
Yeah. I think that's literally what I had to keep telling myself. And you're 100% correct. There were days, there were moments, there were months. I've always dealt with clinical depression. So I suffer with depression, and I feel like there's extreme sides to it. There's the extreme down and there's the extreme high. And so I think throughout the years, I've had to learn like what are my triggers, like, and I've had to learn like watch my body react and know like, okay, what this is stressful, what's going to happen next, like how are you going to deal with it? And so I've been therapy, I've gone to counseling, and like at the time when my mum passed away, I was like, I have to go into therapy, I have to speak to somebody, because at the time I was with my children's dad. We were together for 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're no longer together, but you know, I've he was the one constant. He's not my eldest's dad. I was with my eldest's dad. We met at like what, 12, 13. I was turning 13. We had our child when I was 5 days before my 16th birthday, and he was, turning 18. So we was young parents. The distance when I moved to London, it just didn't work out. And then plus because I grew up faster because I'm carrying this child. I'm incubating this child and it's on me. They're putting me in a new home and I have to figure this out. So we just, unfortunately, and because like I said, I had this idea, I'm going to have a baby, we're going to live happy ever after. It's not real life. Stress happens, things happen. We need to make money. How are we going to feed this child? I'm in foster care, but they ain't going to get all the nappies and do everything that we need to do. So there was a lot of stress in that. And with me dealing with my depression and all sorts of things. So we just didn't work out. And then, when I met my other children's dad, who ended up being with for 16 years, we was best friends for 2 years and his family were very supportive. And, I built that support network around me. And then we eventually did get into a relationship. But that is the key thing. It's about creating your own community, creating your own hub of support. And not everyone is going to always be there to stick around in the journey. But for whatever use they can be in that moment, in that time, whatever you can do to help them, whatever they can do to help you. Because I always feel like it's an exchange. Anything you do in life should always be an exchange of energy, an exchange of time, whatever that is, you're exchanging, right? So I built that slowly but surely. Some people fell off, some people added on, some people not. So, but throughout my journey, that's what helped me. It's I had to go counselling. So first acknowledging that I'm in need of help. And that's one thing about Martha Panther's world in the book, Carlos Camille and the Hamster Overload. They have an overloading moment, you have to read the book to find out, guys, yeah? But they have a moment where things get out of control and they had to ask for help. No matter what age you are in life, don't be afraid to ask for help. And so that got me through one stage of, my life. And so in particular, it was cognitive therapy. So that was okay, things around you are overwhelming. House chores are overwhelming. Day-to-day things are overwhelming. Well, they helped me how to break it down and not tell myself, Nadz, you've got to do all those clothes of folding right now. Or you've got to do all that laundry. You've got to do all of those dishes right now. No, do it in parts, so that you don't become so stressed that you black it out and put your head in the sand. Because that was a pattern that I was beginning and that I was falling into. Mm-hmm. And then when you continue putting your head in the sand and everything is building up around you, all the things that stress you out are continuing to build. Because if you don't do the dishes, who's going to do them? Mm-hmm. If you don't sweep the floor, who's going to sweep the floor? So all these things were happening and I was creating this toxic environment for myself and I didn't know how to get out of it until I asked for help. And they gave me the tools to help myself. And that's what I appreciate about it, because it's not about asking for help and constantly having that crutch to lean on, because that's not realistic. It's not real life and it has never been my life. I've always had to figure it out. So they gave me those skills that I needed and that helped immensely, transform my life. It did. And then, after that, then it's just being aware about the type of people you want around you and who can be a benefit to yourself and your family unit. Because not everybody that I meet, as amazing as they may be for me on a friendship level or to go out and party or whatever, when it comes to who do I want to be a good influence around my children, that's two different things. So it's understanding that as well. So yeah, that's how I got through it. A lot of talking to myself, man. A lot of times where I was in a dark space and I don't even know, man, my spirituality as well. 100%. I'm not necessarily religious, but I believe in a creator. I believe that, doing good things in the world and giving out positive energy and having good intentions more than anything, because you can have good intentions and you can still do wrong things sometimes. We're not perfect. I'm not a perfect human being. I may have hurt people along my journey, I may have disappointed some people on my journey. However, my intention is always going to be out of love and out of wanting to progress and be the better version of myself every day. That's what pushes me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing so much. I'm just mindful of time now.
Yes.
Is there anything finally you would like to say to the audience?
Yeah, I think I'll just leave it on the last note, guys. Believe in yourself, because no one else is going to believe in you more than yourself. And if you don't do it for you, no one else is going to do it for you. Okay? So yeah, just more love, more blessings, and more success. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate you and your time as well. And there you go, guys. Another fabulous podcast. I mean, you know, some of you say, hey, you get people who are not relatable on your channel. Today we've got somebody who's come out of the care system, who's actually made it into entrepreneurship, but also told you her thought process on how, even when she's become a young mum, how to keep pushing herself and, you know, live up to her responsibilities and say, look, I can still study, I can still keep working, I can still, you know, get to a successful position. And I do need to listen to myself, and I do need to believe in myself. And if I need help, I'm not ashamed to say I need help and get the right people, you know, on board to still carry on. And I still believe this is the start of Nadz's journey, and she's going to achieve, you know, amazing stuff. So please make sure you give her a follow. And if you have any questions, I'll make sure she gets it. So please leave us a comment. Don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button. But until then, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.